both belong. Join the conference, it's gonna be lit. Curipod fam, you don't wanna miss it. In this digital age, we got them online. No need to travel, no waiting in line. From the comfort of home, our passion takes flight. Afraid we divide us, but our heart bars are right. Can't attend live, don't let it dismay. Plays on the way, just a click, no delay. Curicon, the future's awesome. We're riding TG, they both belong. Join the conference, it's gonna be lit. Curipod fam, you don't wanna miss it. So spread the word, let the assignment unfold. Curikin's the place, but teachers it's all one. In the realm of light, together we'll find. A Curikin, let make the future come alive.
Hi, welcome to session 2, day 3 of Curicon. I'm your host, Amanda Fox, and I'm the Curipod community manager as well. I'm here with Curipod ambassador and co-host Erica Sandstrom.
Hi, everybody. Nice to be here. I'm so excited. I love that song so much. I literally just took this picture outside my door and said,
That's
oh my gosh, Curicon sunset.
Curipod sunset.
For my background right now. What's that?
It's a Curipod sunset.
It is. Totally is. Absolutely. So this is so fun. That discussion has my head spinning. I'm just, I love it. I love it. I love it. I cannot wait to show the staff at my school everything that has happened so far. So you must be exhausted, but you're rocking it, girl.
Rocking it. So we are excited to bring up Carl Hooker. In his session, he's going to lead us into the fascinating world of AI-enhanced learning. As the rapid rise of generative AI reshapes the way we teach and learn, it's imperative that we navigate this transformative landscape responsibly. No longer are we solely measuring student growth through a single product. We're delving into a realm where the process of learning takes center stage, and I can't hammer on that enough. Would you like to do the honors of reading Carl or giving his bio?
Sure. I'm we're thrilled to continue. Is that part? Okay. We are. Sorry. No, I was reading his bio and I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy's amazing. We're thrilled to continue our exploration of leadership in the realm of AI. And today we have a special treat for you. I mean, this man is brilliant. You just heard him in the last thing. In this session, Carl will lead us in the fascinating world of AI.
Yep. No, just
AI enhanced learning as the rapid rise of generative AI reshapes the way we teach and learn. And it's imperative that we navigate the transformative landscape responsibly. No longer are we solely measuring student growth. Did you already say this?
I did. I jumped. I read the part.
You had Eric on there. Well, she really meant it. So here's Carl Hooker, an influential figure in education and technology integration, has consistently championed student-driven learning. He's the creator of LearnFest ATX, a global learning festival, inspiring similar events worldwide. Carl is also the author of the 6-part series, Mobile Learning Mindset, focusing on stakeholders and mobile learning initiatives. In addition to writing and district leadership, he's a keynote speaker, consultant through Hooker Tech LLC, and advises ed tech startups. His contributions include being named Tech and Learning Magazine's 2014 Leader of the Year and his membership in the Apple Distinguished Educator class of 2013. Holy cow, dude. You're right.
That's a lot. I'm busy.
I'm not worthy.
Carl GPT in the house.
Yeah, yes. You must be tired.
Man, thank you so much. Thank you all for having me on. This is great. Yeah, that panel was a lot. There's a lot going on there. And I just love the different perspectives that were happening. And I'm hoping to dive into a little bit of that today too. And the book just came out, Learning Evolution. So you're gonna get a little sneak peek of it. I know, and I want to thank Curipod, of course, for giving out copies of that. At the end of this session, we'll actually give away some copies as well. So if you hang out to the very end, teaser, we'll get you. And again, we'll probably in about 20 minutes ish, right, Amanda? We got to be done by 6:30.
You can go over a little. Erica's going to close you out, and I'm hopping into the next.
So you guys are multitasking.
We are multitasking. We're in 2 places at once.
And Erica, that is not an AI generated background. You said that is a real, actual background. That's impressive.
Yeah, it is. Well, would you like to queue up your presentation? You can
It's
just
coming
jump
up on
straight.
screen right now. I just want to say again, thanks to everyone. Curipod, you guys are awesome. This is oh wait, there we go. You got it. You can bring it up there if you want to. Yeah. So we're not going to dive deep into the book. I want to make this as interactive as possible. It'd be ridiculous for me to do a whole talk about AI and then just talk on it the whole time. I want to hear from you, the folks in the chat. I see Tanya, I see Ken, I see Chrissy. A lot of people jumping into the chat. That is awesome. Let's go right to Curipod right now. And I want to know what's on your mind right now at this moment. What is on your mind? I want you to go to Curipod. I've got a link up here for you. It's my short URL, mrhook.it/Curipod. And I'm going to start this right now. Once you get in there, I want you to just put in one word that's basically just like what's going on in your brain when it comes to everything. And I'm not talking just about AI. I'm sure AI is a big part of it. Obviously, you're here for that reason. As I knock my tea all over my hat, that's going to be great. At least I didn't hit my computer. Haha. So yeah, right now I'm worried about spills. That's always fun. Alana in the house. Hey, Dan Thomas, lots of great friends there coming in to the chat as well. Let's see if that works. Did the Curipod link work? Let's see. Did it? I should be okay. There we go. Got some. Oh, we do. We got 12 people jumped in. I just started a timer on this thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to it because will be a word cloud. And if things work out really well, I might try to do a magic trick with it later. But AI magic trick, we'll see how it goes. You never know. Sometimes the magical interwebs may or may not work. But we're going to try this right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to stop sharing my screen and switch over to the Curipod results because I want to see what some of these are coming in as. So again, one word to describe kind of what you're thinking right now. And again, I see a lot of folks. We have 17, 18, 19 folks that have already jumped in. Awesome. And I see we already got our cloud forming as we speak. So I'm going to switch screens over there. Magic trick. Oh yeah. I don't know, Tanya. I've tried it once and it worked and then it didn't work. So we'll see what happens, but let's go to our results here and see what's coming up. I'm going to go, oops, not to slides. Yep. There we go. Share screen. And I've got so many windows open. This is so fun. So many different things taking place right now. This is like where my brain is at. And I'm sure Amanda and Eric and everybody at the Curipod crew running this amazing conference, thinking about all these things as well. Let's see what it looks like. Okay. We've got lots going on here. Yep. We got awesome. How to handle technology, teaching with AI. Orange is good. Curicon, good. Homework, resiliency, good. Go, learning, powerful, new skills. Lots of new things that are popping in. We're going to stay in this Curipod a little bit later. So if you have it open on your device, keep it there. We're going to switch over in just a second to something else. But I want to make sure, and I'll be jumping back and forth. So those of you running the behind the scenes, I apologize in advance, but I'm going to be trying to break everything that we're doing with StreamYard because whenever I get on the interwebs, that's my goal, is just to break the internet essentially every single day. So I've got my thinking about those words. And again, we're going to captivate kind of some of these things and capture this stuff and talk about how all of these things that are floating around in our head are actually going to come to fruition when it comes to AI. Here are my numbers really quickly. You heard a long bio there, but I just want to give them to you fast. 25, any guesses in the crowd? Years in education, 8-time author now, 5-time podcast host. I'm trying to break the Guinness Book of World Records, a 2-time bar owner, 3-time father, and 1-time husband. And I also like to reflect a little bit on myself. So here's a picture of me when I was little, just so you know. And this is me and my family. Yes, that's my sister on the far right. That's Anita. You put that together with my last name, you'll figure out, yes, just do the math there. Anita Hooker, yes. But this is me right here. And you could tell that I was quite the out there kid. I was just so amazing with this haircut. By the way, this haircut involved basically two things, right? It was this flipped upside down, stuck on someone's head, and then these scissors. And that's pretty much what my haircut was. But during this time in my life, I was obsessed with two things. I was obsessed with Transformers, the toy, and dinosaurs. I was way into dinosaurs, so much so that if you look at this old footage, I don't think it's actually 1988, might be a little bit earlier than that, you'll see there I am right there with a dinosaur sitting on top of my hair. So it's like, what is going on? First of all, I'm trying to cover up my bowl cut with this dinosaur toy of sorts. But at the same time, I was just captivated by it. And a few years later, 1993, this is 30 years ago. Do you remember this movie when it came out? There's scenes in this movie. And I want you just to, as you're watching, just kind of think in your head, like, what was the scene? What was the thing? You can put it in the chat if you want to. What was the scene that like got you? That was like, this was that moment that I was like, I knew this was amazing. This was different. There's a scene in this movie that always captivates people. So I'm going to give you a second to go ahead and put that in the chat. As you're thinking about it, think about this movie itself and how it transformed an industry in lots of ways. By the way, the scene you were thinking of, I'm going to put it on the screen next. I bet most of you were thinking about this scene. No, sorry, wrong picture. Go ahead, skip to the next one. Wait, let me put my head on there first. Hey, that's me. Look at that. Look at that. Yeah, so good, so good. No, it was probably like this scene, right? The scene where he's coming up, Dr. Grant's coming up, and he sees that dinosaur for the first time. And all of a sudden, he has this look on his face like, oh my goodness, what is happening? And you realize at this moment that this is also the very same thing that every language arts teacher felt when they saw ChatGPT for the first time. They're like, what is happening? My world is just turned upside down. Dr. Grant in the movie thinks, am I obsolete now because I, kind of did this old way of digging dinosaurs, things like that. And all of a sudden it's like, it's different, right? Well, if you think about that scene, what was interesting about it as well is that before this scene, whenever you saw dinosaurs in a movie, most of the times they look similar to this. This is Godzilla, guy in a puppet outfit. It wasn't like this, right? This changed everything when it comes to the film industry. Now, I don't like to plug a lot of documentaries, but there's one that I particularly like. This one's called Jurassic Punk, and it features Steve Williams. If you haven't seen it yet, it talks about what happened at that moment when they decided to go ahead and start using advanced technology to help create these movies. Because before then, this is what a lot of the dinosaurs movies looks like. You remember the little claymation things with the little puppets and all of this? Yeah, that's so fun. But really what he did is when Spielberg walked by his office, he decided, oh, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to actually put this on a computer screen and just have it kind of playing in a loop. And he did. And Spielberg walks by and he goes, wait a minute. What is that? Can you put like skin and bone? Oh yeah, I can put all this on it. They're like, that's amazing. You can do all of this? And he's like, yeah. Well, at that moment, Spielberg and his group in 1992, before the movie, they had hired a ton of puppeteers and people doing claymation, and they all had the same thought. Do we need to evolve or are we going to go extinct? The film industry was at the precipice of CGI, and that's what was happening at that moment. We are at a similar precipice right now. Now, it's not a giant asteroid coming to crush us, although I did use AI to generate this image. Isn't that great? No, it's different. It is coming our way. If you think about it, just 328 days ago was the public release of ChatGPT. Less than a year. 328 days ago. For perspective, and I hate to bring this up, some of you may have PTSDs about it. 1,320 days ago was when COVID launched. Friday the 13th, 2020. All of us have our stories around that. So almost 4x, almost 4 years before that was COVID. And so we're still in this very new phase when you think about everything that's coming with AI. And I've already seen images like this. This is one I absolutely love. Traditional learning, yes, is boring. I love that the kids had to pose. The thing is, the kids probably aren't posing, if I'm being honest. And then there's this idea now that we're going to have this kind of AI enhanced learning. And the truth is, it's never going to be this great. And by the way, if you've ever looked closely at these images of AI people, there's something a little bit off. In fact, if you zoom in a little bit, if you can see that guy's hand that's holding that little, looks like an iPad or a MacBook, he's got 6 fingers. So apparently in the AI world, we also all have extra fingers, which is kind of fun. No, but seriously, I think what you think about with AI enhanced learning is what is it going to unlock? What is it going to be able to do? By the way, this image I generated using, I think I used Leonardo.ai to basically generate an image that said, give me a diverse classroom with students using technology and they're happy, and a sunny classroom with robots helping them teach. And this is what was produced. And so again, we're going to get into a little bit of what perception and reality is when it comes to AI, because it is changing quite a bit. And that's actually going to bring me to my second question. So I'm going to bring this up on my Curipod right now. And I think what's happening with our perception and reality around AI and why some people are fearful of it. Obviously, those of you watching today are big fans. I mean, you're here because of AI. Your Curipod's a great AI platform. But I want you to do is I want you to think about some movies where AI is the bad guy. Because I think what's happening is, and we referenced pop culture earlier with Jurassic Park, I think what's happening around AI is we've kind of let it become this thing that scares us in a lot of ways. And so when I go to talk to teacher groups around the country, what usually ends up happening is they say, well, something bad's going to happen, right? It's going to just take over the world or something like that. And I see there's already some people putting in the chat, so I want to see what's coming up. So I'm going to switch again. Sorry again, though, those of you working behind the scenes, I'm switching slides quite a bit. I'm going to drop out of my screen share here and go over to the Curipod results because I do want to see what that looks like. Now, I could have run all this in Curipod as well. I'm very fancy with my animation, so sometimes I probably should have just done that instead of keep switching screens. But I also have some other tricks up my sleeve that I have planned later that it's going to allow me to go ahead and switch screens anyway. So I need to be really proficient at this. All right, we got 11 answers that popped in. I only gave you a minute that time, so I probably should have given you a little bit more time. Of course, with Curipod, you can always add that extra 30 seconds. Let's see what comes up. Here are our 11 answers. What are some of these movies? Let's see what the results look like. Okay, Terminator. Yes, for sure. 2001, Automate, Transformers, RoboCop, HAL in 2001. All of them. iRobot, Terminator. Yeah, great examples as well. It's funny. I think Terminator is probably the number one answer, but there were films that came out before Terminator. Of course, films have come out since then. Someone told me, and I haven't seen it yet, but I know Tanya, who's down in the valley. I think she had a chance to see it. There was that new Tom Cruise movie where basically AI was the bad guy. It was over the summer, and so again, it's interesting how this is starting to shape our perception around AI. News, media, multimedia, film industry, everything kind of shapes our perception whether we like it or not. And I think that's also going to affect how we move forward with it. Now, I'm not saying we should just plow right into it and everything should be perfect with AI. It's not going to always be that way. There's going to be times when we're going to have to like really have a cautious eye and a lens to it. And we're going to get to that question in just a second. But I think what's important is that we know that these are the things that are actually influencing us in a lot of ways. And so some of the films you mentioned, it's interesting. You guys mentioned 2001 Space Odyssey, because here it is. I have it. It's actually one of the things I have queued up on my slide. So yeah, you remember HAL, the robot that basically took over everything? Yeah. Can we put that back up on the screen? I know I keep changing on you guys. Sorry about that. There we go. Yep. I don't want to spoil anything, but let's just say this: the computer was trying to kill him. Okay, there we go. I kind of spoiled it a little bit. Yeah, the HAL 9000. That's right. War Games. Remember this? Matthew Broderick, War Games. It was like he was playing chess, and then it was tic-tac-toe, and then all of a sudden thermonuclear war. And it just kept playing over and over and over again. Yeah, I see some more comments coming in on the YouTube. A little bit of a delay there, but I see some of them coming in as well. Yeah, Ali Sheedy. Good call, Curipod. And then of course the typical, right? 1984 Skynet. Yeah, that's the one, right? That's the one that everyone's worried about. It's a learning computer. And at one point it comes online and decides that it no longer needs human interaction. Therefore, it's going to make its own decisions for us. iRobot. I've seen a few people mention that as well. Will Smith, of course, are we okay with Will Smith? Is it okay? The slapping thing? I forgot how long that was. Okay, I'll put him up here anyway. But Will Smith, a bunch of robots, they all turn on everybody and basically tell us, you need to get to your own house. We're going to take care of you because you can't take care of yourselves. Again, robots taking over for humans. Recently, I haven't seen it yet, but I know it just came out a couple of weeks ago, The Creator, which I think has a different spin on AI in pop culture, because I think it's actually like kind of protecting the little kid in certain ways. And so there's a little different angle happening here. But again, it's happening where we have this concern with AI. And so besides the concerns of the robots taking over the planet, I do think it's important to do this activity. So I'm going to throw in a minute. I'll put 2 minutes on the clock here, and I'll start it right now. What are your biggest concerns, or the concerns that you're hearing from your staff? Again, you that are here are part of this, are probably part of the people like, oh, we want to learn more. We want to do more AI. But you also have to recognize that there are concerns that people have around AI. So whether it be a concern that you have or someone, a colleague has, that's something you need to put in as well. The Mitchells versus the machines. Yeah, I need to see that one too. So again, thinking about this, I'm going to go ahead. I've go ahead and queued it up there on the Curipod slide, and I'll switch over to it in just a second as you guys start to answer. But again, biggest concerns, maybe concerns you're hearing, things that you think, that really worry you. Of course, those of you that are on the chat can be asking this as well. Yeah, it's trying to soften our fears through high emotional connection. Ooh, very clever there. Yes, Dr. Waddle, that's good. That's right. Let's have a little kid be an AI robot, and we're going to be sad for the kid. I think there was actually a movie called AI, Artificial Intelligence, that Spielberg did, that had Haley Joel Osment in it, if I remember correctly, too. Similar kind of concept. We're going to feel sad for the kid in that sense. So yeah, let's see what's happening here. Okay, so we got some answers popping in right now. I'm going to see if I can switch over to that. Oh, we're going to go. I'll let some of the answers come in. So I'm going to switch over screens. So again, switching again. And I think what's interesting is, every time I've done this, I've asked this, I've gone to schools, I've gone to conferences, and I ask this question. This is one of the first questions I like to ask, only because I think it's important that we identify and recognize what are the concerns that are actually out there. We have to identify those things if we're ever going to move forward. And so for people that are sitting there and struggling and wondering like, well, how do we get this even started in our classrooms? And a lot of people are like, well, just give it to the teachers and let them play with it. And I think that's part of it. But I do think you also need to, the Matrix is a good one. Sorry, Tanya. I think you also need to make sure you pull back and say, okay, let's first address the concerns. Let's look and see what are the things that we're most worried about around AI, because without that, you can't really move forward. I always call this like dropping anchors. And I think this is an important part of it. You have to drop these anchors if you want to actually move forward and see what they are. So let's go ahead and see what some of our results are. Oh, I did have voting in there too, but I'm just going to go ahead and skip voting. I want to see kind of what we have popped up here. Okay, relying too much on AI. Let's see. I'll zoom in on some of these. Teachers use AI tools, but limit the students from fear. That's a great concern. Kind of a next level concern there too. Excuse me. Staff and student data privacy. I think that's a big one. Yeah, cutting and pasting answers without really looking at it. Yeah, there's a feeling of kind of laziness, or I see poor critical thinking listed up here. Cheating's a big one. Big Brother, I know I hear that a lot. I mean, I'm not going to say her name, but she's in the room right here behind me. If I say her name, she'll respond to me. She doesn't always hear me, but you know what I'm talking about. It rhymes with Malexa. I'll just say that. Did she hear me? No, she didn't hear me. Okay, good. Humans lose themselves to the machines. Cheating is a big one. And then the fear of replacement of jobs, which is interesting because if you're on the panel that we were just doing earlier, I mentioned that what just happened in Austin is they just launched a school where it says, and the headline, of course, it's an eye-grabbing headline, but it basically says new AI school in Austin is going to have no teachers involved. But the truth is the teachers are just called something different. They're called guides. And basically what they're doing is they're using artificial intelligence to help the kids learn kind of at a personalized level for about 2 hours a day. And then the rest of their day they spend doing kind of more hands-on kind of life skill type work, which I think is interesting too. This fear that it's going to replace our jobs. I think that's an important thing to think about. There are websites out there you can actually look this up. That's fun if you want to just spend like 5 minutes down a rabbit hole. It's called willrobotstakemyjob.com. True website. Can't make it up. I don't have an example up here, but it is a real website, and it's a valid concern. Like I said, I think it's something that we need to think about with our teachers. So I'm going to show you a quick example. So I went to I've been fortunate enough to travel a lot over the last few months, just talking about AI. And I think, and a part of what the book is that I wrote, even though people are like, oh, you could probably write a book and just let AI write the book for you, right? True, AI can help you write the book, and AI did help me.
We lost your sound.
Muted myself when I smacked that thing. Like, I'm so animated. I keep moving my hand around. You know, the Italian in me's coming out. I'm sorry. Thanks for the back behind the scenes work. But I do like what I want to also talk about is the human element of all of this. And I think that's important to think about too. And so when I asked high school teachers, this is here in Texas, there's about 150 of them in a big giant cafeteria, and we're talking about AI. And these are the things that they voted on. They basically said, you know, similar to kind of some of the discussion you were just talking about, this idea that it's going to replace student effort, that there's going to be academic integrity issues or critical thinking issues or cheating issues. And I'm going to hit all of those here in the next few minutes. But I think it's important, again, to address these concerns. And I think an important first step for those of you that are out there training teachers, make sure you give them an opportunity to voice their concerns, because you have to have that piece out of the way before you can move forward. Then you can kind of move forward. So I know Tanya's here, and she's actually from a school district that I visited this summer, McAllen. So I'm going to share a story from her district, and she doesn't know this, but it is a coaching story. Now, those of you that do professional development, you probably know this. There's this, especially if you're here in the United States, or especially in Texas. Usually there's this thing when you go into a workshop and there's a bunch of teachers there, there's this group of people that kind of hang out in the back. They all have these shirts that have the school colors on them. They have a whistle around their neck, sunburn, and they're wearing coaches shorts. Yes, it's the coaches, the football coaches. And sometimes those are the trickiest ones to train when you're talking about technology use or anything. So I'm doing this AI workshop with a bunch of coaches, and they just start laughing. This particular coach I kind of go up to, and he's the coach at McAllen Memorial High School. And I talked to him about a little bit about it. And I was just like, hey, what are you doing back there? And he's like, oh, it's fine. You know, this AI stuff is funny, but we need to work on blah, 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 blah. Because we got a game coming up, you know, we're playing Edinburgh and all of this. And I say, well, what do you know, what kind of defense do they run? He's like, well, they run like a 4-3 defense. And I was like, cool. Well, I heard your running back just got hurt, right? And like, yeah. So we're trying to figure out what to do. And I was like, so you don't have a running back. You're playing a 4-3 defense, and you have to figure out what to do. So I say, here's what you do. And he pulled up ChatGPT, and I now ask it a question. You know, how do I play a 4-3 defense against a starting running back? Can be challenging. And then, of course, you know what it does. It goes and gives you lots of different examples of what to do. Quick passes, spread formation, play action passes. You don't even have to be a football person to understand what half this stuff is. But at the same time, all the coaches' jaws just start to drop. And they almost start laughing, almost like this is almost, it was hysterical to them. To all of a sudden see like, wait a minute. And he's like, you know, why not just let AI do everything? I mean, it's going to give me all these examples anyway. And this was a great point. I think this is important to come up, because when coaches and teachers see it the first few times, they're just like, well, you know, if I use AI to teach and the kids use AI to answer the questions, then, you know, why are we even in this? And I was like, this is the most important part. This is the part you have to know about the most. And so in his case, when he said, why not just let AI do the coaching? I was like, you know what AI can't do? AI cannot implement a game plan. AI cannot teach the kids how to execute that plan, and it cannot motivate the kids. And then most importantly, AI cannot then offer some sort of real-time feedback to adjust that game plan. So again, think about this just as not only as coaching, but also as teaching. There are so many components of what AI can and can't do that I think sometimes we get kind of overwhelmed with it in a lot of ways. And those coaches, it was amazing. I will tell you, the rest of the day, they were just floored. And sometimes one of them was a strength and conditioning coach. He's like, listen, I just put in a 4-week plan for weightlifting for freshmen. And it gave me this little 4-week plan. And I said, how was it? And he goes, it's pretty good. I need to change a little bit. And I was like, yes, this is where your experience comes in handy. And so he added a little bit to it, but he let it create that first initial plan for him, which I think is important. Now, what AI can and can't do for your students. I think this is a graphic that's in the book, but I'll go ahead and give it to you here too. And I think it's important to pull this out. And I think we talk about all the things that it is able to do now. And it's brainstorming ideas pretty well. It's able to give you that feedback and suggestions, review your work, give you that writing and reading assistance that my middle child, who's extremely dyslexic, really struggles with. I have, since before generative AI, we've been using speech to text and tools like that, predictive text, to really help her with the writing. Great storyteller. And then tutoring and support, which we'll get into in a minute when we talk about equity, but not everybody has access to tutors. We talked about this in the panel just before this. Not every student has an access to a tutor. Not every student has access to a parent. When I was a teacher, I used to call it PI, parent intelligence. You'd get that paper and you could tell like, oh, the parent did the homework. But you know what? Not every student had access to that. Maybe they had a single parent home where the parent had to work. And so now all of a sudden you have this ability to do all these extra things. But what can it not do for students? It can't really care for them. AI will not do that. I know that they try to make, Snapchat has a little My AI and they'll talk to you and ask how you're doing, motivate them. It doesn't really motivate anything. It just gives you an outlet. It can't be empathetic. It doesn't understand their learning style, and it won't provide that life guidance that I think is such an important human aspect of everything that we do in teaching. Yeah, Tanya, the science fair is a perfect example of the parent showcase, right? Parent intelligence has been around long before artificial intelligence. And so thinking of these things and the balance of these things, I think that's what's important when I talk about AI enhanced learning going forward. Now, we talked about it briefly in the previous panel, but I'm going to hit it here. Bias is a real thing. And so I'm going to actually ask you guys to do a little activity around bias. Here's what we're going to try. We're going to try an experiment. Now, if we're doing this in a room, it would be great because I can actually see when you guys react to this, but we're going to try this experiment in bias right now. So here's what I want you to do. I'm going to think of a term. In this case, I'm going to say the word hacker. And I want you to think about what image is forming in your mind when you think about a hacker. What does the hacker look like? What is the hacker wearing? What kind of room are they in? What's on the computer screen of the hacker? So think about that. Now imagine that in your head right now. Again, clothes, outfit. They're probably in a room that looks like mine, right? This kind of weird cave with glowing lights and all of this. Okay. So you have the image in your mind, right? Now, what I would normally do at this point, if we were again in person, I would say turn to someone to talk, or we could communicate it in the chat what you're thinking. But I think in the interest of time, I'm going to go ahead and reveal the secret here. And when you Google search for hacker, what comes up? That. Now, some of you may have been thinking of very similar things like a hoodie, a dark room, a guy with a mask, or some sort of weird matrix stuff happening on the screen, right? Why does this come up on a search? Why is this the first thing that we think about all the time when we talk about hackers? Does every hacker wear a hoodie? No. Does every person that wears a hoodie become a hacker? No. But I think these are biases that are built into what we believe and what we think. And these biases have been going on for years. I mean, advertising in the 1950s. Look at this. Don't worry, darling. Didn't burn the beer. Or you mean even a woman can open it? Gender bias is a real thing too. And I think it's such a huge part of everything that we have that we've built into it. In one of my first early experimentations with AI, I used ChatGPT to do this fun thing. I was like, you know what? Write out wedding vows between an IT person and an educator, but I want to do it in the Shakespearean language. Let's see what it does. All right, so it says groom, the IT professional, thou radiant and virtuous educator, blah, 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 blah. Thou. It's great, actually. It's really hilarious. I love doing stuff in different, like do it as T-Pain sometimes. It's really fun too. And then the bride is the educator. And as I'm reading this, I'm like, oh, this is great. This is a great example. And of course, the first thing I noticed is like, you know what? It assumed a couple of things. It assumed that the IT person would be the groom. It assumed that the educator would be the female, the bride. It also assumed that there's a groom and a bride. So it basically assumed that it was going to be a male-female relationship to that. I don't know why these balloons are flying up around my head, but that's interesting. AI is taking over, see? And so when you think about bias, it's not going to be just in the results. There's going to be very slight biases through everything. If you have a moment, check out what happened to Amazon back in 2018. They used this thing called recognition with a K. And it was basically a screening platform that went in and screened all of their coders. It was AI built, AI driven. And what it did is it said, okay, we want to see who are the best coders. And it would take all the applications of thousands of applicants and then say, okay, these are the cream of the crop. And what they didn't notice until later is that it eliminated every female. Why? Because the data it was using was from its existing coders, which were 70% male, including the pronoun he. And so whenever it saw he as a pronoun in an application, it automatically moved it up a notch because it doesn't know, it's not doing it on purpose. It's just taking the data it has and applying the data. This works also in image generation. And a lot of the examples I have in the book, I have tons of examples of these that you can do with your students too. But here's one I just for fun, I did. Okay, generate an image of a nurse helping a robot get better. And I thought, okay, let's see what comes up. I wonder. Well, it's going to be a female of Asian descent every single time. And this was I used lots of different image generating engines, but this was actually Canva that I used for this. And actually I kept regenerating it and it kept coming up with similar type things. The bias is built into it. If I said, give me a basketball player reading a book, generally it would always be a tall African-American man. It just by default, again, it's pulling in our own kind of implicit bias that we have toward everything. Now, responsible use of AI is no different. I mean, we talk about cheating. I saw that come up as one of the concerns. So I'll kind of go through these quick before we wrap up. But I just want to say, cheating's been around since before time. I mean, this scene is a great movie, Spies Like Us, by the way. Chevy Chase figuring out all the different ways you could cheat, right? This is before AI, when you could have like little slips of paper, you write it on your hand, you put it in your cast, or in this case, he's got it kind of hidden everywhere. I mean, I remember when I had this watch, I got in trouble because my teacher's like, you know what, you're not going to have a calculator on you at all times in life. And I'm like, well, little did she know that I'd be carrying a phone with me. These calculators, the TI calculators, some of you went through this and are still using these. You could program answers into these calculators. That was a huge source of cheating. 2001, Google takes off. 98 to 2001, Google starts taking off in schools. Then it becomes a big thing of cheating. And always, every time, we're going to blame the tool. Let's talk about the calculator. Let's talk about Google. Let's talk about AI itself. And it's going to an extreme. And at this point, what we see a lot of is, these kind of headlines of like college professors in full-on crisis mode because they're trying to catch the ChatGPT plagiarist. And the truth is you can't. The truth is it just continues to grow and change. And I think what they've discovered already, and they're going to continue to discover over the next several years, is that you can't ever, if you focus everything on whether a kid is cheating using AI, then you're missing the entire boat. And I think this is a big important point that I want to bring up. There's a professor, and I mentioned this in the panel earlier. He talked about flunking all of his students. He flunked all of his students because he thought they used AI to write their papers. The truth is some of them had never even heard of AI. In fact, one of the girls who was interviewed in the story, this is in the Rolling Stones, said like, hey, I didn't even know what ChatGPT was. And she was being honest. But he used an AI detection tool powered by what? Powered by AI. So of course it's not going to be perfect. I love the University of Michigan. I used to live in Michigan for quite a while. And I think this is important too. Yeah, Alana, we're going to hit on that big time here in just a second. The idea that they have this AI resistant assessment. AJ Giuliani and I have talked about this. Resistant isn't exactly the right term we want to use, but they tried it. They put this on their website. And as I'm looking through these, I'm like, oh, these are great suggestions, right? Open-ended questions, cheat detection tools, vary the formats of the exams, all of this. And I'll give them credit because they did put this on their website, but I will tell you this, they pulled it after about a month. Luckily, I recorded it. So here's an example of it. So as I'm reading this website, I'm like, oh, this is interesting. That's good. It kind of looks like something else I've seen before. It kind of looks like it was generated by AI. And sure enough, if you scroll to the bottom, it says, and I love this, in full transparency, the only part of this AI suggestion page was typed by human were the prompts and the few sentences that are in bold. Everything else was generated by AI. I give them full credit for this. I think they had to pull it because they got in trouble for it. But I do love the idea that, you know what? Why not let AI help you come up with different ways to assess students? Because we're going to have these layers of assessments, original content versus the AI assisted content versus just purely AI content. And I think these are the things that we're going to be working on going forward with students. I mentioned I did an interview recently. This was with Nick Cole, Dr. Nick Cole. He and I went to college together, so he knew me before I was legally allowed to drink. We've been friends for over 20 years. He's an amazing professor out of USC, public diplomacy. If you get a chance, check out the podcast. But one of the things he shared with me was, he has all these students that they're training to be diplomats in government. And it's such an important thing. He has them all do a research project every year where they go and they represent a country and they say, okay, now I'm going to go and talk about climate change, or I want to go to the United States and try to politic for my own country's needs. And so they have to write a policy piece, a position piece, to basically go to the United States and ask for this kind of policy and public diplomacy thing. And so what ends up happening is AI comes out and he says, you know what, I'm going to make you use AI. And so the kids did, and they all did. And when he got the paper, he goes, you know what that paper is? That's about a B minus. I will give you a B minus right now. If you turn that in right at this moment, if that's what you want, but here's my challenge to you. Take that paper and then add to it. Make it an A paper. And what they did, he said, the work that they ended up putting into it is so much deeper. The learning that they were doing, the outcomes of what they wanted to do. And to him, he was like, this is, and not only were the papers better, but the students actually retained the information better because they had to be better than the AI. So rather than running from it and running away from it, he emboldened them and said, I want you to use it. Now I want you to be better than it. And he said he'll use it from here on out going forward. And I think it's an interesting point. I'm going to skip this question because we're running low. We're out of time. But I want to think about the role that AI plays in education, helping kids cheat. And I think this is important to think about. I'll go ahead and I'll put it in the, if you want to answer it, you can while I'm talking through it. But I think what we're missing is we're blaming the tool way too much. We're thinking too much about the tool. We're thinking, okay, it's the tool's fault. It's almost like if you catch a kid smoking a cigarette and you take the cigarette away and you say, there, see? Well, no, you didn't actually address the behavior. The behavior is, what is the motivation to get kids to cheat? Is it the system that we've set up in education where we have to have the A, B, C, D type of grading system? Is it the standardized assessments that we've already put into place? Yes, that's part of it too. Are those things going to go away anytime soon? Absolutely not. It's almost impossible to change that. But that being said, we can adjust a little bit about what we do. Yes, I love some of the comments that are coming up here too about the AI proof questions and assignments. We talked about Google proof too. Jackie mentioned that early. Yeah, remember non-Googleable and Googleable assessments, things like that. I think it's interesting that, I talk to students all the time. And again, if you want to answer, I see some answers coming in. I'll jump over to it at the very end because I know we're way out of time. Let the kids learn. That's right. Let the kids learn. I have to share this quick story. I think it's interesting that, kids have figured out how to play the game of school. We set up this system for them. If they do these things, A, B, C, D, and they comply, if they're compliance based and they conform with what we want, they will get an A. Are they learning? They're learning how to get an A. I had students at my former high school at one point who said, you know what? We always loved signing up for this one class by this particular teacher because she always puts the study notes up the week before the exam. And so they can study to get the A, and then they get the A on Friday. Do they learn anything? No, they learn how to get an A, and that's the game of school. So what changes do we need to make to really make this AI, what I call enhanced assessment and AI enhanced learning? Alana mentioned it just a little while ago. It's this idea that we have focused all of our energy and education on product, whereas we should be focusing it on process. And I don't think we can throw out product. Don't get me wrong. I think product is still an important part of it, but I do think we need to weight this out a little bit. We need to have a difference of process versus product. And I think that's where we've kind of run into a little bit of problems when it comes to things like AI or Google before it or whatever else before that too. And I think we're going to continue to see the situational AI uses be a thing. I'm going to give AJ Giuliani credit for this because, again, he and I talked a lot about this. I got to see this recently at an event that he was at. Phil mentioned it, a little bit similar version of this, but essentially what he's designed is this idea that we can have this kind of like AI tools. There's times when you're going to tell the students, hey, here's a trigger. It's a red light. Or Phil, I think, mentioned in the panel earlier, a red bot. This is not an AI activity that you're going to use AI tools with. Or this is a yellow, meaning there are going to be certain parts where we say, hey, let's let AI help us brainstorm. Let's let AI help us kind of reread and reformat and maybe do some editing suggestions of our original content. So there's a mix or a hybridized both approach to that. Then there's going to be the green tool where, again, this activity is you can use this. You can use any AI tool you want. I didn't copy you when you see my nice K tone. Okay, thank you, Alana. So again, there's going to be a time in your classroom where you're going to have these settings, and this is not. And again, I don't really think we need to. I think right now we need to be intentional because AI is so new. But I think over time we'll get to where we're a little more comfortable with it. But right now it's so new that we need to be intentional about. Here's the time we want you to learn a foundational skill without it. Here's the time we want you to learn a foundational skill with it, and then here's the time we want you to leverage it to then learn more. And so I think having those three things will be important. Yes, of course, Tanya, it's free 99, and it's also in the book. Give credit to AJ Giuliani for that because he's amazing when it comes to that. So, will this AI eventually give us the ability to truly personalize learning? I think it will. I don't know if this is going to work. I'm going to try it. We'll see what happens. So I promised you a magic trick at the end. So here comes a magic trick. Also, I'm going to give you a link to, if you want to enter to win a free copy of my book. Yes, I'll give you that link too. Just a second. So you'll have a chance to win the book. Okay, it looks like this one tool isn't working as the way I want it to. So let's see. Luckily I recorded this, so I have an example of this. What I wanted to do, what I was originally going to do, but now one of my tools isn't working, is I actually wanted to take the words that you just said. And I did this live in a keynote last week, and it actually worked out really well. I took the words that you said at the beginning of this talk, and I built it into a poem, basically using ChatGPT to create a short poem. I then went into 11 Labs, and those of you who don't know 11 Labs, you can basically go in and you can type in anything you want. And I've uploaded my voice, several versions of my voice, and it actually creates an AI generated version of my voice. Now, you probably won't be able to hear it. So I have a way of doing this. So I'm going to actually stop screen here because I do want you to hear it. Oh, let's see if this works. Okay. Oh, I hear it talking. Okay. So it did work. Awesome. Okay. So I've gone in, I went ahead and I added my voice using the words that you guys brought up. Excuse me. Now I'm going to try to share my screen with audio. Does it have audio? Oh, share tab with audio. Let's see if this works. Maybe. Nope. Maybe not. Let's see if that might be it. No, that's not it. That's not ChatGPT. Okay. Well, unfortunately the tab isn't coming up. Rats. I was hoping I could get the tab to come up and work. So I'll skip back to that so I can kind of show you what the ending thing looks like. You won't be able to hear it, but as with anything, it's AI is always fun when it works, and it's not great when it doesn't work. Oh wait, no. I thought I had it there, but I don't. Okay, so I'm going to show you this. Here we go. So basically what it is it's me. I was using DID Avatar Creator, which is built into Canva right now too. And what you can do is take an image of yourself, use your own voice, taking your own words, and then having that actually presented. So if you bring up my slides. Oh, wait. There we go. Hold on a second. It did work. Let's see. Can you hear it? I don't know. Probably can't hear it. Oh, lifelong learning. Anyway, it was a good poem. I don't know if you could hear it. Again, sound probably not great because the magics of the internet didn't always work. But thinking about this process and how fast it could do that, you could go from taking some words, creating a poem, using my own words, my own voice, and then putting it into an image. It's going to be interesting to see kind of where this all goes. And so as we wrap up, I just want to share a couple quick things with you, and then I'll give you the link there as well. You guys have been great. I know I'm way over time. I get very excited about a lot of this stuff. I think it's important to think about, what does all this matter to our future and our students? And I think, there's a reason why the windshield is bigger than the rearview mirror. It's more important where we're going than where we've been. But I do think we need to continue to steep ourselves in those human interactions and those things that we do that make us human. I'm going to end with this quick story. I showed you this picture at the beginning. I didn't tell you about this gentleman with the porn stash there. That's my dad, Ray. Ray was an interesting character. I'll say that. He was in Vietnam. He was an avid reader. I mean, even in Vietnam, there he is right there reading a book like in a foxhole somewhere. And here he is actually editing my book, Ready, Set, Fail, that I did just a couple of years ago. And the thing about my dad is an interesting thing is, like, he was the kind of person, he always wanted to try new things. He's always apt to try new things. Here's a picture of him actually reading with my youngest daughter. At this point in his life, this was about 6 or 7 years ago, he was given like this kind of status where his heart, because of Vietnam, a lot of things had happened to his heart. And essentially what happened is that his heart was going to stop eventually unless he tried something different and unique. And so he tried something called an LVAD, which is a type of machine that has artificial intelligence, computer programming running inside of it, put it inside of his heart to help pump his heart, to give him a few more years of life. This is him just this last year. There's my daughter, who's now 10, the littlest one over on the far left, because he was willing to take this risk and learn and try something different and try something new, he was able to survive a few extra years longer. He actually died just this last year. He made it just 6 hours short of his 75th birthday. And I think about him, and I think about all the things that we do in education, the human aspect of all of this. And I think about his life and the fact that my daughters, as they brought in the flag on his last day on this planet, and I'm gonna try not to cry through this, but as they brought in that flag and put it over him, I looked at all the staff that were there. They were crying, the nurses, the doctors, and I'm smiling. And they're like, "Why are you smiling?" And they're like, he, because of the advanced technologies that you guys have helped him with, and because of the risk that he was willing to take and his willingness to live, my daughters now know their grandfather. They will remember their grandfather. My little child would not have remembered him without that. And I think that's an important thing to think about with our own kids. Artificial intelligence will never supplant human compassion. I think that's an important thing to remember with everything that we're doing. And I think it's time for us in education to continue to evolve. And I think this is the next step. Thank you guys so much for being a part of this. As I promised, there's a link. There we go. 10 random winners will be chosen from this link. So if you go to that link there, fill out the form. I'm going to just, I'll leave it open, Erica, probably for like the rest of the week, because this will probably be out. People can watch this on YouTube and stuff. Excuse me. And so we'll leave it open. Sorry I went so long.
No. I don't want you to stop. I didn't know I was going to cry. I'm really sorry to hear about your father. But what a beautiful story. I have so many notes. Are you coming to Boston, Mass anytime soon? Anywhere near me?
That might be. You never know. Yeah.
Yeah. That was so beautiful. Now I see why you're a keynote and your book. I want your book. I'm going to be filling that out too. But that was just beautiful, and just how, it is so true about, we have to face these fears of the teachers, and that gave me, a lot of ideas of hearing them out. And did you say 328 days? Is it really only 300?
It's been 328 days. Yeah.
Oh,
I know.
It's been a while, 328 days. And
it has. It's been a long year. I will say that. For me personally, but also just obviously, but there's also just, it feels like this has been such a rapid, I don't know, Erica, do you think that, like, I feel like we're still on that early precipice, like, of the accelerant, right? I feel like we're going to see thousands of more, and then it's going to kind of level off. Like, what do they call it? The Krebs
like
cycle?
Everything.
Yeah. And so
and I feel like, you're so right about giving them a win. A lot of times I'll have people go to their refrigerators and then come back the next day, and I said, write everything in your refrigerator, even the weird stuff, and then come up with recipes for it. So like you did with those coaches, it's important to give them a win. It has nothing to do with the classroom necessarily, but and then when you show them how to write IEP goals that they've been copying and pasting for years, I've had teachers cry, that teachers hug me. I keep getting presents. I'm like, I didn't come up.
I know, but isn't that amazing?
It's so fun. It's so fun.
Well, but I think it also speaks to the fact that, teachers have been under what I call a time famine. We have been pressed on with all of these different initiatives that we have to do. We don't have time in our day to get, like, the actual important part, which is teaching, like working with kids. And now you're telling me there's a little way I can take some of this weight off. I think that's why they're giving you those presents. It's to me, it's helping me a lot in my regular life too. So
I can hang out with my family. I can do all kinds of things, and I could feel not so guilty about watching Gilmore Girls. It's just amazing. It's silly for people not to use this technology to help them do things they've done a million times. And so they can leave space for learning new things. I have my whole too, but I can't wait to show this particular session, because I think it will get everybody on board, especially my boss more. So yeah.
Well, I'm happy to help. If anybody wants to reach out to me, I'm Mr. Hooker on Twitter or X or whatever it is. I'm Hooker Tech on.
I know we can't do it, can we? We can't.
No, we can't. I'm Hooker Tech on Instagram and TikTok now. I'm actually putting out a little Hooked on AI series on TikTok. My 14-year-old is teaching me how to use what they call the TikTok, the kids these days. And so
the kids these days.
So I'm generating all these little TikTok ones. And a Curipod was one of the ones I actually used. One of my first ones that I made was on Curipod. Using different AI tools. So
I can't stop playing. I have to sleep sometimes, but
I know, right?
But no, sorry about earlier. It was so funny because you talk as fast as I do. Like I'm a lot like you. And when we first came on, I had the live stream on 3 different places. So I heard 4 of your voices at once.
Yeah.
So I'm just sitting here nodding, going, did he ask me about my background? I don't know what he
You're like, something just happened. But yeah, that's
I'd be like,
that's
I was just sitting there like this, and then I was, but you were incredible. So this is how we're giving the books away. Good, because it was too much pressure to do the chat box. And we're Amanda's way into our next session, but this was, this is why you're a keynote. You're an incredible, and I was not going to interrupt this master at all. I feel honored to be here with you. I'm very excited.
Oh, stop. I appreciate you guys again giving me the space and time to do it. And I just, again, like you, I'm just learning every day. It's so exciting. Lots of great people in the chat too. I know I didn't respond to everybody, but great sessions. And so again, thank you, Curipod, for putting all this on and giving us a platform to talk and share these stories, because hopefully it helps a teacher out there or a principal or administrator out there in the future. So take it, give it to your superintendent, Erica, whoever you need to.
Absolutely. I already wrote that down. I've been taking pictures of your screen too. I know I can go back and get it later, but
I give you the slides. I mean, yeah,
I know. I was just so excited.
I give all that stuff away. Yes.
Well, I'm very excited about that. All right. Well, it was lovely to meet you and talk to you and be here for you. And everybody, go ahead and jump on over to where Amanda is. I don't know, because I just came on tonight, and I'll figure it out by the next session. Have a great night.
Thank you, everybody.
The future's awesome. We're writing, teaching, they both belong. Join the conference, it's gonna be lit. Curipod fam, you don't wanna miss it. So spread the word, let the assignment unfold. Curiking's the place for teachers, it's our world. In the realm of I, together we'll find. Our Curiking, let make the future come alive.
Oh, it's not ending.